Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here, and today, the universe is on the brink of extinction. The stars have burned into cosmic dust and scattered worthless energy throughout the vast black tapestry of space. Now you'll take charge of a federation of orphaned alien species that have escaped dying star systems in the wake of a galactic apocalypse. You're trying to be the first player to establish your colony and all your factions. Nova Lux is a resource management engine building game for 1 to 6 players, plays in 15 minutes per player, for ages 14 and up, and published by Dragon Egg Games. It's on Kickstarter right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. This is a Kickstarter preview, so all the art and components you see here are prototypes. You're going to want to check the link in the description of this video to see all the final art and components. Now here is a setup for 4 players. Now keep in mind that the setup is randomized, it will change every game, and it's slightly different depending on the player count. Here we're playing with 4 players, and today these are represented by these large cubes as where they start. But yeah, check the Kickstarter link to see what those will be. Each player will get a playmat. They'll have a colony disc here, and this color corresponds with the colored cube that shows where they are out on the map. Now this helps them track the different resources in the game: water, artifacts, life forms, botanical oxygen, and hydrogen. Now the object of the game is to be the first player to get all of these resources to 7 or higher. This will allow them to place the colony where they're at. Once the colony is placed, they then are trying to fulfill the bottom row of their faction cards that they start with at the beginning of the game. Now these faction cards are drafted. Everyone's going to get a set of those. They're going to pick one, pass the cards, and you'll keep doing that till you get 3, although in a 5 or 6 player game you'll get 2. So again, you're trying to get your resources up to 7 or more, place your colony, fulfill all 3 of your factions. The first to do that, it's a race, will win the game. Turns will go clockwise. On your turn, you get to do 4 different actions, and you can do them in any order, so it's very flexible in how you take your turn. The different actions are move, harvest, biosphere, and top row action. Let's first talk about harvesting. I am right here right now. Now remember that this is a randomized setup, so each of these start with a certain amount of hydrogen. This is the same colored cube that we track hydrogen on our mat. This one starts at 6, this one starts at 10, and again, it's a very randomized setup, so each game is a different puzzle to figure out. So let's say we wanted to harvest here. We would move this hydrogen cube down from 6 to 5 because we're harvesting that. Then you're going to follow what's on this card. This says we will pay. So we're going to pay 1 water, but we're going to gain, because we're harvesting the hydrogen, we're going to get 1 hydrogen. In this case, we're going to get 2 botanical oxygens. So again, paying water, but getting hydrogen and 2 botanical oxygens. Now remember, all your resources start at 3. So again, we're going to pay 1 water, so it's going to go down to here, and we're going to get a hydrogen, so this is going to move up, and we're going to get 2 of those just like this. That's if we had harvested that 1 time. But you're not limited to doing this just once. You can do it as much as essentially you can afford, because remember, you're paying water. So let's just say we did it twice. So we would go 1, 2. That means we would do everything here twice. So we would pay 2 water, we'd get 2 hydrogen, we'd do this twice, so you'd get a total of 4 botanical oxygen. So in this case, our board would have went like this, because we would have gone down 2 in water, we would have gone up 2 in hydrogen, and up 4 in the botanical oxygens. However, when we were here, let's say the hydrogen was already at just 1, and we were going to do that harvest action. Well, when this goes from 1, let's just say we're going to do this once, this would go from 1 to 0. So we would do what we just showed you on our mat, taking a hydrogen and then paying this and getting all of this. But because now all of the hydrogen is gone off here, you get to take that star tile and place it by the side of your mat. This is going to be sort of engine building because you're going to be able to do these on your turn. I'll talk about that a little bit further. But you can have up to 3 of these here. And once you max out and you get one, you can discard another one. But this is going to be the engine building part of the game. And you'll see underneath the orange star that we just saw is a red one. So this would now flip up. And now when you harvest this spot, you're going to have to give up these 3 resources, but you're getting all of these. So it sort of builds up a ramp throughout the game. Now let's say it's further in the game and we actually are on this red star and we've taken the last hydrogen there. Well, we would still add it to the maximum of 3 that we can keep beside our player mat for some engine building. You would then flip up this space tile. Now again, every one of these sort of tiles are randomized where they are at the beginning of the game, so it's always going to be different. Now this one was a neutron star. They can be different things. In this case, if this happened, you would just move to any empty spot in between the different star tiles because no one can longer move here. So now that I've showed you the harvest action, let's show you the move action. Let's just assume we were on this star tile. Now when you move, you're going to spend hydrogen to do so. If you're on a star tile, you'll move first in between that spot like this, or let's just say I'm moving in this direction. Now to do that, it costs 2 hydrogen if you're moving off of a star. And again, anytime you spend or gain resources, you're tracking those on your mat. However, if you're on one of these empty spaces or wormhole, it only costs 1 hydrogen to move off it to an empty spot. And you can only move in cardinal directions, not diagonal. But let's say we spent the 2 hydrogen to go here. It costs 1 to move from an empty spot to an adjacent star tile like that. So we would have spent 1 more hydrogen. Now at this point, we occupy the same space, it's a tile, with another player. Even if you're in a space in between tiles, but if you're in the same spot as another player, essentially you're going to attack or trade with them. Now you don't have to do either, they're optional, but you can only do one of those. If you trade, essentially you just make a trade with them. You might say, hey, I'll give you 2 botanical oxygen and I want some water. You figure out how much. And it doesn't have to be even, you can negotiate. You can be like, you know what, you really need botanical oxygen, I'm really high on it. I'll give you 2, but I want you to give me 3 water. And you negotiate and you can come up to an agreement, you can trade with them, and each of you, update your mats accordingly. Or you can attack them. Each of you roll a die. Yellow us got 6, they got 2. You would take this number and you would add it to your lowest resource. So 6 plus 1, we only have a 7. But let's say they actually had less. Let's say they had a total of 5. So we had 7 and they had 5 when they add up their die to their lowest resource. That's a difference of 2. So we would have won as the attacker by 2, 7 to 5. Now that difference is important of 2 because you get to basically take that amount of resources from that player and you get to decide, so you might go, you know what, I'm going to take 2 water from you. And you would put that up 2 and they would go down 2. Or maybe you go, you know what, I'll move up 1 water and I'll move up 1 life form, and they would have to move down 1 life form and down 1 water, and that's essentially how you win a battle and what happens. Now that's how attacking and trading works. Now let's talk about moving a little bit more. Some of the special tiles, like the wormhole, allows you to teleport to another wormhole. Now to do this, it doesn't cost any hydrogen, and it occurs during a move action. If there's another wormhole, you can teleport to it. Although when moving off a black hole, which was a space tile that was flipped over, it actually costs you 5 hydrogen to get off of that. Another action you can take is activating your Biosphere engine. Now, each of the cards that we've placed out here, remember we got those by harvesting when it was the last of the hydrogen on those, and you can activate these, and when you do this action, you can activate each of them, and you can do it as many times as you want. But you actually have to pay hydrogen in order to do so. For example, if you want to activate this, as normal, we would pay those. So we'd pay 1 artifact, we'd pay 1 botanical oxygen, and we would pay a water. Now in this case, when you're activating as your Biosphere engine, you're going to pay the hydrogen instead of receiving it because you're using your engine. So instead of receiving the hydrogen, you actually pay it. But then you're going to receive this. So we go 1, 2, 3 of the life forms. Now remember, you can do each card as many times as you want as long as you have the resources to do so. And you can do more than 1 card too. Now the last of the 4 actions you can take is top row actions. Now the top rows of your faction cards, they represent abilities that you can use anytime during every player's turn, including your own. So you can only use 1 of your 3 faction abilities on someone's turn, and you can only do the ability once, meaning the most you'll ever gain is 1 resource. But let's look at what these do. This one is, when you successfully attack and you win a battle against another player, you gain 1 life form, and it does come from the other player. So if we had attacked and beat them, then because we had done that, we actually would have gained 1, and they would have lost another one of those. Now this one allows you to exchange 1 water for 1 artifact in either direction. So maybe we wanted water to go up 1 and this to go down 1, or maybe we wanted it to go the other way, we go down to 0 water and we would go up 1 in artifacts, for example. And this one allows you to exchange hydrogen for any resource. Maybe we go down 1 here and we go up 1 there. Okay, so that's the 4 actions: move, harvest, Biosphere engine, and top row. And remember, you can do those in any order, so your turns are very flexible. However, when you're done with that, you're going to take 1 hydrogen. You can do it from any star. It doesn't have to be where you're at. So you could take 1 again. You would then move up 1 hydrogen. But if, when you were doing this, let's say this was at 1 and you did that, well, this would trigger. You would essentially get this and add it to your engine. Remember, never having more than 3, and you'd flip over the next one. So you can change, you can do different things here with the take 1 hydrogen. Then it'll be the next player's turn. You keep doing this clockwise. Now keep in mind, one of the goals is to place your colony, and as soon as you get to 7 at least of all the resources, you'll then place this where you are. And you can do it just like that. Now keep in mind, I'm actually adjacent to that neutron star. Because if you remember, it's a race to win, and to do that, you have to fulfill all 3 of your faction cards, and you have placed your colony. And one of these say, hey, my colony needs to be adjacent to the neutron star, so I've already fulfilled these. This is both of these need to be all the way up maxed out to 14, and this is all other players need to have life forms of less than 7. So down here. So how do you make that happen? Well, you can go around attacking them, because their ability is every time you attack, you're going to steal a life form from them. So if you had this done and this done, you'd be running around attacking people trying to get their life forms down, and they're going to be trying to build it up using their engine and such. And the first one to fulfill all their faction cards is the winner. Now here's many other faction cards. Remember, you're drafting these at the beginning of the game, picking your sort of strategies and engines together, and they do all sorts of different things, like some of them's +1 for trade, some of them's teleporting and moving, but you get the gist. Feel free to pause it here and take a deeper look at these. Well, there you have Nova Lux, and as I showed in the overview, the resource management, engine building, and off-turn action mechanisms make for fast, compelling, and continuous gameplay. Now, if you'd like to see the final art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me in the description of this video. It will take you directly to the Kickstarter project page, and I'm sure the fine folks at Dragon Egg Games would love your support.